let's see, it was 2006 in Orlando, Florida. My mom was 89 and I was 56 years old. She had a healthcare crisis. She called me in the morning and she couldn't get out of bed. She was in pain and she was frightened. So imagine a spouse or a mother, a parent of yours, calling you in extreme pain and needing help and very frightened. Fortunately, I lived nearby. I went over to her home and we got her ready to go to the emergency room because something was terribly wrong. I was a bit scared as well, but we had prepared for a possible emergency. I had her healthcare information with me, her insurance information, and also I was her healthcare surrogate. If anything needed to be done at the hospital, we were prepared. We got to the emergency room and, they admitted her because she had some kind of infection occurring throughout her body. She was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I stayed there a good part of the time so that I could talk to all the physicians that entered the room to get a daily update. But the information was never very positive, and they were still trying to save her life. What I remember very clearly, and I'm sure you remember moments that are pictures in your mind that you will never forget. I was standing next to the neurologist, and he was showing me an X-ray or an MRI of my mother's brain. Now, we don't know what MRIs are supposed to look like in the brain, but honestly, it did not look good. And that's exactly what the neurologist said. I remember his words very clearly. If your mother survives, she will never live independently again. And he said that based on the test result. So what would be your reaction? My reaction was, well, she might die, right? That causes a lot of pain and suffering for family members. Or she might live, but she would need care. Well, I was actually more prepared for her death because we did all the paperwork. I knew what her desires were. All of the information that I needed really to take care of her in the face of death was handled. Mom did live, and I was excited about that. She lived another 11 years. But I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking in my mind, could you please give me the manual? What do I do when I get home? What is it like to care for an individual? And Dave said that too. What does a caregiver do? What are the responsibilities? When you're out in the world with your career and you get a job description. Well, there was no job description. And that's frightening and overwhelming. I learned a lot taking care of Mom over 11 years, and I didn't have a lot of contact with other caregivers. So that was a problem. And if you're not talking with other caregivers in support groups or any of the people that are on this program who can support you, then you may feel isolated. David mentioned loneliness, depression, misery. My whole goal after taking care of my mom, and she did pass away at the age of 99 in 2017. I started my company in 2018. I thought, I have learned so much and I have struggled so much. And I went through so much stress taking care of Mom that this isn't the right thing. This isn't right. Caregivers need to get together, and we need to inform caregivers how to prepare for this and how to have a better caregiving experience. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be stress. We can't eliminate it all, but we can have a better experience. I finally wrote the book this year, long overdue, but I realized in my conversations with caregivers, I was telling people the same thing over and over again, and they were telling me the same things that were stressing them out, and the mistakes they made, and the steep learning curve to be an effective caregiver. So that's what I did in the book. I put together the information in the book, and here it is. It's 21 mistakes, caregivers make, and how to avoid them. It's on Amazon. I'm not going to actually go through the mistakes, but I'm going to talk to you about the content in the book. So I hope you're taking notes. There was a lot of content that you already have. The overview is the word self-care, and you've heard it before. But I want you to expand your idea of what self-care is. I know when people came to me and said, "Are you taking care of yourself? You don't look so good." I didn't really appreciate that. And there really was not a lot I could do about it. I didn't know how to take better care of myself. I mean, I knew in my mind how to do it, but I was so exhausted and I was so out of energy that making a salad was like a difficult thing for me. But healthy eating is obviously important. So the overview is self-care. And the purpose of this presentation is to decrease your stress level, give you strategies to reduce stress, and surprisingly, increase your happiness. And people don't think of the word happiness when they're caregiving, but I want you to incorporate the word happiness and being intentional about it into your vocabulary, and to find something every day that you can be happy about, or the word gratitude comes up. And I haven't heard that in the previous presentations. So the next word I want you to write down is relationships. You are in a situation where you are in the most important, possibly, relationship of your life, and that is caring for a loved one. Or maybe it isn't a loved one, but you're caring for a family member because that's your circumstances and you've agreed to do that. So relationships, you are in relationship with that individual. When you ask for help or get help, you are in a relationship with those individuals. Think of all of the people you interact with while you're a caregiver. It could be physicians, it could be nurses, it could be therapists, it could be counselors, it could be your family, your neighbor, and your friends. So relationships, we're going to talk about relationships. Because if they're not in good repair, or if they need repair, then your stress level is going to go up. Now, there are 3 words under the word relationship that I'm going to focus on, and that is the 3 C's: communication, community, and celebration. I'll say that again. When you think of relationships, I want you to focus on communication, community, and celebration. Let's go back to stress a little bit, because I think you can relate. I know caregivers go through stress, but let's take a look at what causes it, so maybe we can prevent it. So if any of this speaks to you, write it down, because these are things, some are out of our control, and we need to let go of the things that are out of our control. And the first one is uncertainty. We're really not good with uncertainty. We like schedules, we like routines, but moment to moment, day to day, circumstances changed. And that's what happened with my mother and myself. She woke up one morning and she was sick. All of a sudden, the world changed. And over the years, she had a number of situations where she was sent to the emergency room. We spent a lot of time there, especially in her 90s. And they were all unexpected circumstances. We don't expect these things to happen. So one of the things is we've got to get comfortable with uncertainty, because life is really uncertain. This feeling that you're out of control. A lot of times we worry about things that we can't control. We have to let that go. We can't control the weather. Let it go. That's an easy one. We can't control when the physician is going to show up in the hospital. He's got his own schedule. We've got to be on his schedule. Or we can make a request or find out what time he's coming. But there's so many things. We can't fix our loved one, especially in the case of dementia or a progressive illness. Men especially, you have a lot of trouble with this. You are fixers. You solve problems. In a lot of cases, this is going to cause you a lot of stress. A lot of times we lack information that we need. We doubt our ability to be a good caregiver. We lack the information on how to prepare for a caregiving situation. Getting back to relationships, there are people in your life that likely criticize you for the job you're doing. They tell you what you should be doing without even knowing or being involved in your situation. Oh my gosh, that causes so much stress. Again, we talked about not taking a break, not asking for help, but poor communication with people. So that's the overview. That's the basis of the book, to get you information about that to reduce your stress level. I didn't even know what a support group was. And there were some in the area. And over 11 years, I certainly could have used the support of other people that were going through a similar situation. I found a support group. I had to drive there. I was too exhausted to go. The great thing about today is that there are a lot of virtual support groups. I was just on a cruise with caregivers that are taking care of loved ones with dementia. And they were with their loved ones. And we have activities on board, and we have a conference when we're at sea. And then we escort the people on their excursions. So we also have a nurse on staff. So these cruises help people have a good time. And they're not alone. And they learn things at the conference. So that's support. And then we have a support group. And the individuals that we were working with that were on the cruise had never been in a support group. So they said, well, we don't need to go. Well, we finally convinced them, come and just check it out, see what it is. And they were able to talk about their feelings, talk about what they were going through, what they were worried about in the future, and they felt better afterwards. So not knowing is a real, problem. And that's in the book too. I want to give you the information that you need, again, so your stress is reduced and your happiness increases. Let's see. One of the things, so let's get back to those words. So communication. Somebody mentioned, this seems to always come up, that there's somebody in your life that you're not able to communicate with effectively, or they're telling you what to do. And the suggestion that I have in all circumstances, and especially with your loved one, is to be curious and be a good listener first before you offer your opinion, and be careful of your reaction to people. We tend to get triggered by people's words, especially if they seem hurtful. Well, people are doing the best they can. And unfortunately, people do say things that are hurtful. And that's why there's a large section in the book on communication strategies. But let's focus on talking with your loved one, if they're capable of communication with you. One of the first things I started doing with Mom was telling her what to do. And, how do you feel when someone tells you what to do? Well, that doesn't work too much, but I thought that was the caregiver's job. But it's not. Or it could be if they ask for your information, if they ask for your opinion. But in a conversation that is effective, both people have time to express their opinion while the other person listens. So it's a conversation. It's not a conflict. It's not an argument. It's not if I have to convince you my point of view. It's a conversation, and that's where communication starts, where both people have an opportunity to be fully present, fully listened to, and then you each give your opinion, and then you go wherever the conversation needs to go. So I recommend this with your loved one. I also recommend this with any individual, especially those in your family that don't seem to understand. Families are important. Communication with your physician is important. Please don't leave an office visit with your physician, your loved one's physician, not understanding what they've said to you. And this happens a lot. Speak up, be an advocate, ask questions, write down and take notes for your loved one. And then when you get home, you can have that conversation about what happened, because chances are they missed something. There's just so much that goes on during an appointment, and you want to be clear about it. If you're unclear, make a phone call or go through your patient portal and ask questions and get the information. So let's talk about community, because this is important as well. Asking for help was mentioned. And, I don't know why we have so many beliefs about we shouldn't ask for help. Just do it. Ask for help. And how do you ask? Sometimes we just don't know what to ask for. Well, in the book, I gave you a whole bunch of ideas on what you could possibly ask for, both for your loved one, but also for yourself, so that your life is easier. So we're trying to reduce your stress, increase your happiness. Do not make the mistake of trying to do everything yourself. Just practice asking for help. Ask someone to get you a glass of water. You got to say it over and over. I found that people need to practice. We need to practice asking for help. So start small. But also, if an individual has refused help in the past, perhaps a family member, but you want to keep that connection going, I think someone else mentioned it. Don't talk about caregiving. Give them a call saying you're checking in. You just want to reestablish a relationship. You don't know what's going on in their life, and you're very curious. Please tell me what's happening. There are people, you want to talk to about caregiving, and that's in your support group. And you may find that, I have a whole bunch of ideas in the book. Find an individual that you can talk to that's not judgmental. It could be a best friend. It could be someone in your family, but it's someone that you can say, I just need to vent. I need to get this out. I don't need you to respond at all, but I do need you to listen. And you can even put the phone down if you want and go do something else. But I need to let it out. That person is going to be so valuable. There might be a person in your life that you can talk about that you need advice from. And they've been a caregiver. They've been through the experience, and you know that their advice is very useful. So write their name down. Okay, here's one you probably haven't thought of. If there's someone in your life that makes you laugh, you want to call them every now and then. It's okay to watch funny movies by yourself, but find a friend. This is about relationship building, and it's about building your community. So you need people in your life that do different things. Maybe someone in your life is a good cook and they would love to cook you dinner. I've got people like that helped me during my cancer rehab. They brought lunch, they brought dinner, they made a schedule, and they took care of me so well that I didn't have to worry about food or grocery store for the first week after my surgery, and it was wonderful. So find people in your life that love to cook. Don't ask them to come do something else like mow your lawn. Ask them to cook you a meal, because that's what they're good at. So I have other ideas in the book to get you to build this community, and it's so important. I am an only child, so I did start doing everything myself. Mom was in an assisted living facility for some of that time, so my support group grew, and it was fabulous. I made sure that I had good relationships with the nurses, with all of the staff, the activities director, the people who cooked the meals in the dining room, the serving people, everyone in the facility. I knew their first names and last names, and I made friends with them, and they loved taking care of my mother. It was a big help and a big relief to me. So the last thing is celebration. Celebrate life. Just because there's an illness or even a severe, diagnosis, a progressive diagnosis, this is your life. This is your circumstances, and it is time to celebrate. Celebrate your loved one, and celebrate that each day you wake up and you can take a breath, and you have the opportunity to interact with people and to give and receive love to those people in your life. And that's actually mistake 21, undervaluing love in the relationship and in your life. So this is important. We all need love. We need to give it. And as a caregiver, we seem to give and give and give, and we don't get it. And that's one thing you can ask for. Give me a hug. Give me a kiss. Tell me I'm doing a good job. Tell me you appreciate me. You can ask for that. And that's a way of giving love. Sometimes just holding a person's hand, or touching them in a loving way can do that. So overall, we've talked about self-care in a bigger framework. Self-care is definitely watching what you eat. It's movement. It's getting enough rest. But it's also your relationships. How you create your life on a daily basis is self-care. And if you let people in that are bringing you down, draining your energy, then that's self-care, and that's a boundary you need to set with those people. So we talked about self-care, relationships, communication strategies, building your community of support, and celebrating life. I would love for you to learn more because my book is very practical. It's very short chapters so that you can read about the mistake, find out why it's important, and then I give you the strategy so that you can create your own care plan. There's a lot of ideas in here and in the appendix as well. You can follow me at heartofcaregiving.com. My email is Toni@hoctoni.com. HOC stands for Heart of Caregiving. So heartofcaregiving.com. There's a lot of information on my website, and I would love for you to follow me and the activities. I am in Central Florida. I do things virtually, and I do a lot of things locally. I am a professional speaker, and I would love to do workshops in your community as well. So thank you for listening. I hope you've got a few aha moments, perhaps, or at least one or two tips that you can implement into your daily activities. You are an important person, remember, in that person's life that you're caring for, and they are important to you as well. I know they are. I really view the years I spent with my mother as some of the best years of my life because I focused on the relationship and giving and receiving love, finding out what she needed and wanted, and giving her the best health care that I possibly could. So let me know if you have any questions. And I look forward to maybe being in touch with you again, or you're being in touch with me so that we can work one-on-one as well and help you through a difficult time.